right, so today we're going to be assembling the Island Warrior. So let's get started with the unpackaging. Pull out the seat. You're also going to want to grab the charger box. Has some other parts in it as well. We'll set that aside for now. And we'll begin with the unpackaging. All right, so for the Island Warrior and the Shaka, here are the tools that you want. You also want a buddy if you can. It'll make it easier. Definitely can assemble these by yourself. We've done it, but having a buddy makes it easy. So first we're going to want to have our scissors, and then we're going to want to have our 4, 5, and 6 Allen wrench and our 15 millimeter wrench, and along with a crescent wrench if you have one. That'll make it easier for the light. When we're unpackaging, we want to start with the front tire, and so we can set that aside. All right, so we'll set that aside for now and continue with the unpackaging. Okay, so as we're unpackaging, one thing to note is we do want to have the handlebars out and dangling, and make sure that the front fork is nice and stable. That way it's not falling over. All right, next we're going to grab our 5 millimeter Allen wrench here, and we're going to go ahead and straighten the front neck so that it's nice and straight with the bar. You want to center that so you can see, and then go ahead and we're going to tighten that. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and take off this front plate. So let's go ahead and grab your 4 millimeter Allen wrench, and we're going to remove all 4 of these screws on this front plate. And we'll just hold on to those for a minute and grab our handlebars. And we're going to want to bring those around and make sure that everything is untangled and lined up properly. And then we can grab our front plate again and start putting in these 4 screws. It's very important that you put these in separately and don't tighten them down, because we're going to want to tighten them accordingly. Kind of go around in a square so that it's nice and even. Don't over tighten one side. All right, so as we start to tighten these down, again, tighten them down evenly to where they're nice and snug. And again, we want the handlebars in the parallel position so they look like this. And you can adjust these depending on your preference. To rotate these, you can see here, you can rotate them to your preference, and you would just do that by loosening these, adjusting them, and then tightening them back up. All right, so once we have this nice and tight, we'll go ahead and move down to our light. And we're going to want to go ahead and take off this front bolt and nut and go ahead and put the light in. And then reinsert it here. You're going to want to grab your 5 millimeter Allen wrench. And if you have a crescent wrench to hold this back nut, it'll make it easier. We have one handy. You might be able to hold it on with your bare hands, depending how strong you are, but a crescent wrench definitely makes it easier. And we're just going to want to tighten that down. And then we can adjust the light if we'd like. Next, we're going to grab the front wheel. We're going to unpackage that. And we're going to take off the two stoppers. And then we're going to want to untighten each bolt so that we can slide it on the frame. There's a few washers here that you will not need. You can go ahead and take those off on each side. Go ahead and take those off. And then we'll put this on slightly. Take that back. We need to put on the washer first. So you do want to have a washer on each side. All right, then we can go ahead and take off the front bracket. That'll just slide off easily. We want to make sure that our rotor is on the left side of the bike and that it slides in nice and easy into the brake caliper and then onto the screw on both sides. And then we can go ahead and hand tighten. Then we'll want to grab our 15mm wrench and hand tighten these down nice and tight on each side. All right. And then from there, we can go ahead and put the kickstand down so the bike will support itself. Next, we'll grab our seat and slide that in. And we'll go ahead and tighten that down and then clamp it down. Adjust it to the height you need. You want to make sure there's no wiggle from left to right. That's nice and snug. Next, we're going to open up our box and we're going to grab our pedals out of here. And we have our charger in there as well. Go ahead and unpackage those. These are labeled left and right. And you can see that here. We'll go ahead and do the right side first. And you'll be able to hand tighten these in pretty easily. Go ahead and grab your 15mm wrench. And on the right hand side, you'll be rotating it clockwise. And then as we move over to the left side, it'll be counterclockwise. I'll just tighten that down with your 15mm wrench. All right, and that'll do it for the pedals. Next is the battery. We'll go ahead and take that out of its packaging. The keys to the battery are located here on the front, so you can take those off or leave them on. It's up to you. And we're going to go ahead and pop the battery in. Pretty easy there. And once the battery's in, we'll go ahead and turn it on. Make sure you're getting power. Press the M button. And there we go. All right, the last thing that we want to do is step over the bike. And you can see here that it's not lined up. And so what we're going to want to do is line it up it should be a little bit loose because we didn't totally tighten that down earlier. So once it's nice and flush, and you can start here from the tire thread, follow that up where it's nice and lined up with the front light screw, and then on up into the stem and into the handlebar, and make sure it's nice and straight. So once the stem is straight, and you can see here, it straddles in there nice and tight. Then there's two side screws here, and we're going to want to take your 4mm Allen wrench and tighten this really tight. There's one on each side, and that'll lock it into position. I'm going to go back and forth and do each side so it's nice and even. All right. So now we got everything nice and lined up. Everything's nice and tight. So that'll conclude. The next thing we'll want to do, and the last thing, will be to put some air in the tires, and we'll go do that now and take it out for a spin.